Oh yeah, no, our thing is here, like for all of our customers, no matter what Dirty Dough you go to, ours has the best customer service because that's the one thing we can control here, you know. Everybody else, we all have the same cookies. We all try and bake them the same. Our one thing is, you walk in here, you're gonna have the best experience out of anybody. That is the most important thing. I look at the reviews too sometimes, and I'm like going through them. And if they, people say things about the cookies, it's like, okay, we can improve, make sure that our bake times are right, all that stuff, right? But we don't have control over a lot of those aspects. But
Absolutely.
Anything is said about customer service, that's the one thing that atmosphere and customer service for us, that's going to set us apart.
You about to turn into one of the hottest episodes of the Climb Back series.
The Climb Back series is here.
We're going to tell you how to bounce back, turn it around.
The Climb Back series.
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 Climb Back series. The Climb Back series.
We got the Climb Back series here.
Thank you, the Climb Back series.
This is the Climb Back series. Today, the Climb Back series visits Dirty Dough in Laurel, Maryland. It's not just your average cookie store. I sit down with Brandon Hoffman, and he tells us his Climb Back story. And not all Climb Back stories are the same. From different business ventures to different investments that might have not gone well, Brandon talks about his path and how he navigated to owning the Dirty Dough in Laurel, Maryland. This is the Climb Back series. Welcome back, everybody, to the Climb Back series. It's your man, Hef Streams, and I'm here in Dirty Dough of Laurel. I'm excited to be here because we all know I like to eat. We talked about it before. We're in the best cookie store in Laurel, Maryland, Dirty Dough of Laurel. I'm here with Brandon Hoffman. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate you.
Very great.
So tell the world, where are we? I know we're at Dirty Dough of Laurel. What is Dirty Dough? And just tell us what we're doing today.
So Dirty Dough, Laurel specifically, is a franchised Dirty Dough store. They started out as a cookie store out of Tempe, Arizona, and then they expanded the brand to be, now it's kind of becoming more of a dessert brand. They're trying to open up the product offerings and everything. I was introduced to the brand through my brother.
Okay.
His soccer buddy, his childhood soccer buddy, owned the brand. The brand then got bought out by a company called Craveworthy Brand. There's now over 60 locations in the United States. I believe they're in 22 to 23 states. And I bought the license for the one here in Laurel, Maryland.
Huge.
Yeah.
And Laurel is a big retail spot. Like when I come to Laurel, if you're not familiar with Laurel, Maryland, like I just think every store is in Laurel. Like anything that you can think of retail, car dealerships, restaurants, bars, barbershops, and Dirty Dough's here. So tell me about that. Like, were you excited about getting this location? Did you think it would be a big benefit to be here in Laurel?
It was a big learning curve because I live in College Park.
Okay.
I was working Bethesda when I bought the license, and so I was looking for areas around my home. Okay. And I didn't realize there were very few dessert places here in Laurel, Maryland. And so when I found out some of the licenses weren't available closer to the DC area or where I was living, because I thought that would be the perfect market, I slowly found out once we got the location here, I was getting thank yous from the community because they said, we don't have a lot of dessert options here in Laurel. And I was like, really? Oh, that's great. And so as I've come to know the community, all of a sudden I've had this love for the community because we have 3 different counties right here in the Laurel area. It's almost the perfect town in between the Baltimore region, the DMV region. And so we have kind of a nice mixture of everybody. And then being along Route 1 to me is also exciting because there's so much commuter traffic and so many different communities intermix right here in the Laurel region. And so I found this great love for the community because now I've come to know it and I've come to meet the people. They're very well connected. Everybody seems to know everybody. The school systems are great. I don't know, it's an incredible community that's a lot stronger than I guess I realized coming into it. So maybe there was maybe that disappointment at first, like, oh, I couldn't get the license where I wanted it. But then all of a sudden I got the license where maybe I needed it, you know? There's almost like wait, this community is amazing. These people are amazing. And the people that I've gotten to experience the store with, the customer base, the employees that we've hired, like it's all of a sudden become this really integral part of life that I now look forward to coming in every day.
That's phenomenal. I mean, that's the best thing about who also can think that their business can be such a pivotal, focal point in their community. Like we all want that. Yeah. We all shoot for that, I think. How do you separate yourself? Because I'm learning more about Dirty Dough. Mm-hmm. Like this location to me is phenomenal. Like you'll see it watching this episode back, like the colors pop, everything's so clean inside the store. Like when I walk in here, I just feel like the store is just so clean. Like I feel comfortable with ordering some cookies from here. And also referring people to come here. How do you separate yourself, because this is a franchise, from other Dirty Dough franchises, from other stores?
With our store specific to Laurel, Dirty Dough Laurel, I think the emphasis has been brought in of customer service.
Okay.
I came from a background of, I was a janitor, I've worked in finance and business operations, and I've come to realize I think the one thing that you can control within any business entity is your reaction to customer service, or the way that you present customer service. I got to give a lot of credit to our employees here who keep it really clean. We have a big emphasis on cleanliness because it is a franchise, right? The products are going to be offered are going to be the same across stores, but we differentiate ourselves because we're going to give the best customer experience. So when I was a janitor, I worked at a movie theater, but we also did plays and musicals. And I came up with this thing at 15, and I was like, I want to give everybody the wow factor.
Okay.
So when people walk into our community theater, I want them to be like, wow, this place is clean, this place is well kept. I just want people to have that expression of the wow, because I think it's the one thing you can control, I guess, in any business is how clean you keep it. It's one thing that I try and keep organization and cleanliness in my own life. And so when you walk in here, I want there to be that factor of, wow, this place is clean. I feel comfortable being here. It's organized. The one thing I wish we could have more of is we're technically have a takeout license, so we can't have tables necessarily in our store. So I've always wanted to have a place where you can sit down. Actually, going back to part of the original idea for opening the Dirty Dough, I wanted something to do after work. I was working in Bethesda, Maryland, doing business operations, and I wanted something to do. And so I went and tried being a waiter at College Park Diner. Loved it, but boy, is that tough work.
And if anybody knows about the College Park Diner, respect to them. They've been there for a long time.
A long time. Yeah. And the people there really, I mean, that just being waiting staff, that is an incredibly difficult job because customers have very high expectations no matter where you go. So I only lasted 3 days there, and I was like, this is hard. This is really hard. If customers aren't happy and they're not waited on fast enough, people have an emotional reaction. So I thought, what's something I can do after work, but also not make it maybe my full-time thing, but make it something that's another opportunity. I love desserts. People smile when they walk in and have desserts. So when I saw that opportunity to do a franchise, I liked it because the plan's already in place. Now you just implement the plan.
Now, did that make it easier for you to get into the franchise route of opening your cookie store? Or would it have been, you think, different if you just started your own, per se from the ground up? Did Dirty Dough make it easier?
Dirty Dough did make it easier because when you get into the whole financing rounds of trying to open a business, they ask for a lot of detail. I mean, they ask for all the details on your business entity. If it's a franchise, because there's a better percentage of it doing well when it comes to SBA loans, when it comes to financing options, because there's an established business plan in place that's already worked in other locations, they're a lot more willing to lend you the funds you need to build out a location like that.
So we talked about it before we went live about how you being a part of a franchise, there's different rules that you have to follow. Obviously, there's more Dirty Dough stores out across the country. So today we got a big game coming up. I can say it's the Super Bowl. I see an advertisement here in the store today that says Game Day Cookie Blitz, and we talked about that. So how do you find a way to separate your store with marketing, with you being kind of still within the boundaries of a franchise?
I think the best part to me is that I have found my passion is operating businesses and not necessarily opening businesses.
Okay.
So having some guidelines for me has actually been really helpful for how my mindset works with these kinds of things. It it is difficult when you don't agree necessarily with maybe the weekly product offering changing. You say, well, why are we using those same ingredients again when we could add more variety? And you know that they have a plan, but you don't necessarily always hear the full franchisor's plan. And they're looking at it from a 10,000 foot perspective. And so sometimes you're like, well, I hope they're doing well, but you know, as franchisors, we all talk in a group chat, we all have ways of communicating, and there is a lot of frustration expressed between different franchisees.
What are some of those frustrations?
It comes down to ingredients, product offering, and I think marketing's been a big one. There's a lot of brands out there when an expectation from a franchisor is that they are going to market nationwide.
You would think that,
you
right?
Would think that. I think here specifically, there has been some hard times where, you know, your market isn't being targeted to the way that you would expect it to.
Especially with you being in your market every day, because in a sense you would know it better.
Yes.
But they're looking at it, like you said, from a 10,000 foot perspective. So that's got to be a little tough sometimes, because I'm sure you might not agree with the direction that the overall company is going. Yes. So like, what do you do at that point?
At that point, they have given us enough freedom to be able to market within our own communities. Okay. And they have an emphasis on, you know, you should be spending a certain amount within your own community to market your store. But I think that's one of the controllable, I think that's one of the uncontrollable things that you hope they're doing what's best for the brand and you expect them to, but you may see things that you disagree with at the time. And things are changing so often, I think, because it is such a growing brand, that there's also still the small business. I mean, you read the statistics that most small businesses aren't going to make it, right? And that still applies in the franchise world, even with stores that are doing well. And so because each store has different costs associated with it.
So coming in to the business, what year did you start the business again?
This one, I mean, our location was first purchased in May of, what are we up to, 2025? 2023.
Okay.
So it started May of 2023.
So you got the store May of 2023. Mm-hmm. And we're in 2025. How much hand-holding would you say Dirty Dough has done for you? Because my curiosity is, if I wanted to go into a franchise with Dirty Dough, how much assistance can I expect from them to get going?
They were a really new brand when I first signed on. So I received kind of a website link that said, here are the steps that we have planned for based on the other stores.
So nobody came in and really held your hand physically with you, showed you how to set everything up. It was all online based.
There was an attempt to. I mean, there were some trainings that we went to. There was video calls that we were having, but you were expected to kind of, I mean, honestly, actually, that's why I liked it, because I was given a step-by-step checklist to accomplish. There were items on there once we were looking backwards and saying, I don't think you needed some of these steps, or I think you needed to emphasize maybe some of these other steps a little bit more, because Maryland, our specific laws here in Prince George's County are maybe a little bit more intense than some of the other locations that they've built out. Our location is also a little bit bigger, being 1,200 square feet, and they only required 700 square feet. So
daily basis, day-to-day grind, let's talk about it. How does your store open? What are some of your daily activities? Just so I can get a day in the life of Brandon, opening Dirty Dough in Laurel. How does your day start? What do you expect?
Under my expectations, it was that I was going to hire out many of the positions, and so this was going to be a part-time position. This was going to be an aspect or an avenue of something that I enjoyed doing.
So you didn't see yourself necessarily physically being in the store as much?
No, and I think it's because my broader goals are having multiple investment opportunities that then kind of go along with some of my passions, but also I'm pursuing a lot of other avenues so that I'm diversifying what I'm creating. It's slowly become where I'm like, I actually really like being in the store a lot. Yeah. And so I'm here now more often. But when I started, I was here only at night.
Got you.
Now I'm here every day in the daytime, here in the morning, and it's become a lot of making sure that we have, doing inventory, making sure we have the product, and me making sure kind of the back end's taken care of. So then the employees are the front-facing people of the business, and that we have different shifts, shift leads, manager, running the store, and so then it's running on its own. So kind of day in my life would be, I wake up, come in a little bit earlier, I'm more passionate about kind of the marketing side and trying to build the community aspect of the store. And then we have a lot of checklists, a lot of plans in place so that the store can function with 4-hour shifts.
Okay. So how do you translate your energy and passion into your employees? Because we all want to open up a business. Let me speak for myself, right?
Yeah.
I love to open up, like you said, a few businesses and investments to where I don't necessarily have to be there all the time and get that passive income. But we all know that we have to employ other people to kind of run the store for us. So how do you translate that energy?
That's been translating the energy directly has been a hard aspect. I've never had employees before because the investment vehicles I've attempted, residential real estate, building other businesses with a co-founder, it's always been me and one other person, or just kind of me, or hiring a property manager, or something where I'm hiring someone else.
Understood.
This now, when you have W-2 employees, all of a sudden we have 10 employees here, and everybody has a different personality, and it's trying to figure out how you connect with each person individually. So my biggest emphasis was, I started out just reading a lot of business books.
Okay.
I would read them, and then I would listen to audiobooks on business.
Give me a good business book.
Oh boy, I gotta remember
for those
them.
watching, so we can see.
They're all on my Libby app.
Okay.
Trying to think of one that I.
And not to put you on the spot, but if you could think of one before we finish, that's always a good thing.
I would just type in business into the library application.
So in a sense, you researched how to run business and how to work with other people, because like you said, you were doing a lot of one-on-one kind of, solo operations per se, but now you have a whole staff. And when you have a whole staff, you have other people's lives and their I don't want to say problems, but you bring in that mix to your atmosphere. So my biggest thing is, to keep that energy. And when you're not here, you still want that energy. You still want your customers to feel that satisfaction when they come in and do business here.
Well, you don't want to micromanage your employees either. You want them to be able to have that autonomy to create that experience for people. And I think it always does come from the top down, is what I've now realized. If I'm putting my energy, if I'm giving my best energy to the managers, and they're giving their best, then it seems like they're giving their best energy to everybody else around them. And so when I come into the store, my goal is to share that energy, I think, with the employees, and the people that, as we're working together, like share my passion, I guess, for the joy that, to me, dessert brings. There's a big emphasis here at Dirty Dough on life. There's a motto, life is sweet. It's what's on the inside that counts. The cookies are these 3-layer cookies. They're supposed to be dirty. They're not supposed to be pretty princess cookies. They're supposed to just taste really good. So the motto that brought my energy into the Dirty Dough brand was perfectly imperfect. You'll see it on our walls here. And so when I see those things, those present to me like, oh, that's the energy I want to put into our store, is that we create an experience that's dirty and messy but enjoyable. Right? Nothing has to be perfect in life, but at least this dessert will cheer you up.
And that's what it sounds like, Brandon. It sounds like those are mantras, like, what'd you say? It's what's inside that counts, right? Like, we can apply that to a lot of phases in life. So what are some of your pitfalls that you face? Like, we all, again, like I said, the point of the Comeback series is to talk about, that person who wants to maybe go into a retail storefront. And we're in Laurel. We're sitting across 3 counties in Maryland, just like you said. Yeah. So when I drive through Laurel, it's like stores are everywhere, like retailers everywhere. So I was surprised when you said that Laurel didn't really have many cookie stores or dessert stores. Man, you gotta like, share, and subscribe to Comeback series. Stop right now, hit the subscribe button. So again, what pitfalls do you face on a daily basis that you want to expound on that we could probably expect?
I think I've struggled throughout life. I've struggled a lot with addiction. I have a very obsessive personality, and so there are things. I think that's been a really hard thing of just trying to, I guess, plan out life, and then when it doesn't go according to plan, falling back to addictive behaviors, or I always had like life really planned out. And then when it didn't go according to plan, there was a lot of just depression, anxiety that came through. Spent a lot of time in hospitals, behavioral health units, trying to figure out right medications and trying to figure out how to survive what we call as life. And I think I found a lot of hope through just living with passion, I guess.
Yeah.
But you know, I've always wanted to find, I guess I have 2 goals in life that I've realized now: peace and joy. And they're very broad goals, but like if I can just have peace and joy in my life, then to me that's where success comes in. So the hardest part, I think, specific to the store, I thought I wanted to be in real estate.
Okay.
I had this goal. I was like, I want a house in every state, and then, you know, rent them out and do all that thing, do that style of things that you'll see kind of on the internet. People emphasize you can make some money at these, but not everybody always pays rent, you know. And then you have damage to the properties, and then you have property taxes, and then you have all these other, you know, fees that come with properties. And then all of a sudden I try to build out the store. It ends up costing a lot more than I expected. So I have to sell the properties, or I guess I sold 2 of the properties to get funding for the store, or like qualify for financing for the store. But then more recently I had to sell my condo because I needed more money for the store.
So break down that. So for me, who has no idea how much this costs, how much it takes for me to get started, dive into the finances behind the Dirty Dough Laurel startup.
I think I have to be careful how I approach this, because I was once on the radio show and I was a little too honest. And I don't know how the brand would feel about that, but a store like this should cost $180,000 to open.
Okay.
Because I hired a manager too early. I didn't realize that would, you know, that applies to cost when you're not making any money.
Why'd you say you hired them too early?
I brought them in because I thought the store could be built out in 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
After county regulations, after some construction delays that I didn't realize would happen, it ended up being over a year to get the store open. And that's a year of no income.
Right.
Right? But then also making sure that somebody else was employed. And so every time I thought we were almost done, I would find out that we weren't. Even when we opened the store, there were county regulations that I just didn't know about and I wasn't educated on, nor could even the franchisor know about, because it's a different location than some of the other locations they had opened. We were supposed to be the first store in Maryland. Another one was opening, but I think that was hard. Trying to find the money for it was hard. Now paying back the loans that are owed. You know, you owe people money when you're getting the loans for the business, making sure that those are paid every month. But I think also adding that priority to making sure that your employees, first and foremost, are paid on their regular set schedule, that they're getting the income when you promised it to them. Those are all aspects, I think, that have just been more costly than I expected. So
I'm going to ask you this. So we talked about your education, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your upbringing and how you got into where you are now. And you mentioned that you did go to community college in Prince George's County, didn't necessarily finish, but obviously you're successful. So how did you learn some of these other business tools that you needed to take those steps? For that person who feels like you felt back then, maybe, who didn't really finish college or didn't really have everything set up, like how did you deal with turning that corner?
I've attempted college 4 different times, and then I found them all very difficult because I don't have enough passion to like do them. And I have a friend that I was always like, oh no, you got to finish everything you start.
Yeah.
And that was a hard one where you're like, oh, this is kind of difficult, and I'm not necessarily enjoying it. If I'm not enjoying it, it's just hard to actually do for me and my mindset. Sorry, what was your question again?
I just feel like, Brandon, a lot of people who don't finish school might attribute it to like a lack of success. Like for me personally, I didn't finish college. So the first thing I'm thinking of is, man, I didn't finish college. So what am I going to do to be a successful businessman without the degree that I was actually shooting for?
Yeah.
And hearing your story, you said your words were you flunked out of PG college. So you turn that into still being a franchisee, you know, owning a Dirty Dough Laurel, and you've done some major things. So for the people that are watching who maybe felt like they failed at that point in their life, how did you turn it around and stay motivated and learn how to take those steps?
In terms of staying motivated, I have to live on, I don't like absolutes, but I have to live on passion or else I'm just not willing to live. I think that goes back to the time I spent in the behavioral health units.
Got you.
I had to come up with a new life motto and change my mindset around life because I was in a place where I wasn't having that desire to actually like live or survive. And so I changed my life motto to seeing the good in gray.
Okay.
And seeing the opportunity in gray, in this gray space, not everything's so black and white. And that was a huge mindset shift for me. So now I see it more as like when one door closes, there's gotta be another one opening somewhere. Or if you don't see one directly, you go make one. I had an old boss who always said, you can sometimes you just take the side door. And I was like, that's an interesting thought. And so I no longer like plan out specifics in life, but when all of a sudden I was like, well, I was working, but then trying to do this kind of school thing on the side. And I was like, well, if that's not working out, I got to try something else. I was fortunate to have the finances and the financial literacy, or I guess financial understanding that there were these opportunities, because I don't think everybody has that either. They don't realize maybe how to get certain loans or how to get the financing for whether it's a franchise or just a business in general.
What are some of those avenues since you're talking about that?
SBA loans, I think, are a big one. We have Small Business Administration. The government does give loans through banks or through credit unions that you can get.
Okay.
There are other, family and friends. That's a risky one though, because you do not want to mess with your family and friend finances, right?
Right.
But investments from there, or starting off something small that you can sell to make the capital to then build it into something bigger. Those are three avenues that I've been educated about. I always found it funny though, because my mother raised me saying it never hurts to ask. So I've gotten to the point now where I don't know a lot of things, but I can make a phone call. So I call bank and I say, hey, I want to do this thing, franchise. What are the opportunities to actually make it happen? And they say, oh, there's this thing called some long number loan. And you're like, okay, I didn't even know that existed. Well, then all of a sudden that bank says, you don't qualify here. So you call 4 other banks and see where you qualify. Like, it never hurts to ask.
Profound. 100%. But here's the thing, Brandon, a lot of people are afraid. That's true. You say it because you've gone through the experience, but you also talk about, it sounded like you had a lot of earlier anxieties as well. And like for me personally, I speak for myself, like I might not always ask those questions. And I like to find out on my time so I can feel, I guess, more comfortable, because we don't like to open ourselves up necessarily to be vulnerable, to have to learn those things.
Yeah.
So for those watching, ask those questions, because what we're talking about is pivotal to get started and to be successful. So let's have some fun, lighten the convo up a little bit.
I do want to tell you a funny story though.
Go for it.
There was an opportunity where I had some money in the bank, and I was like, what do you do with extra money in the bank? And I heard, residential real estate, everybody's like, oh,
Hold on, Brandon. I'm sorry to cut you off. That's hilarious the way you just said that. What do you do with extra money in the bank?
Yeah. Well, you don't want to just
because a lot of us don't have that opportunity to ask that question.
That's
so
true.
Go ahead.
I guess as a single guy with, had found a good job that was making good money.
Okay.
It wasn't a huge amount, but there was extra money that I was just like, how do you invest money so that it's not just sitting there? Because you only make so much of an interest rate in the bank. But you don't have to keep this, and you can keep this or not. But I said, can you buy a house on an app, like just using your phone? Is that possible? And so I made some phone calls, and I started looking up just real estate randomly. And I was like, well, I can't afford anything around Maryland, but I could afford a small house in Alabama. So I made some phone calls, and within 2 weeks, I had purchased a single family home in Alabama, had it rented out, and had a property manager and everything, all using just my cell phone.
That's incredible. So intuitiveness is what you're saying.
So I don't think, houses are a lot cheaper in Alabama than they were here, right? So I didn't need as much money to invest specific to that house. But it was just a funny story of like, oh, you could buy and sell and rent a house on a phone.
So break it down, Brandon. So what happened when you bought the house in Alabama off the app? You got to tell me.
Okay, so I thought it would be a big success story over the next 2 years, or over the next year. Over the next year, the tenant did destroy the property. It didn't go very well, but I slowly found out Alabama's housing market was rising. So when the house sold, I ended up breaking even on the property because I was lucky enough that properties were increasing.
How'd you find a tenant? How'd you like get linked up with them not being from Alabama?
It was all on the phone.
Gotcha.
The challenge was you have to buy the house and make it into an investment property, all using a cell phone only. So now that we have DocuSign and all those things, I picked up the phone. I found a website that you can buy and sell investment properties. Found a house on there. I found a property management company through my cell phone, made a phone call.
That's
incredible. I signed paperwork through the phone call. I ended up, anyway, yeah, and I was able to wire transfer through the phone. So
you went from sitting around, looking at your phone, saying, I got some extra money in my account. What should I do with it?
Worried because it was only making 3%. Sitting in a bank.
So your money's sitting in a low yield savings account, getting only 3%. A lot of people don't even know what that is, but we'll talk about that some other time.
Yeah.
But now you want your money to start working for you, and you pull out an app and challenge yourself to buy an investment property, never leave your house, do all the docu-signing. That's crazy, Brandon.
I signed for the property while on my lunch break, walking through the streets of DC.
So you've got something that I think is special, and a lot of people might not recognize it in themselves or not. See, you've done certain things in this conversation that I've never thought to do. Like, a lot of people don't even know how to buy a house. No. I've never bought a house, not that I don't know how, but like a lot of people, again, that are watching us can hear these things and get inspired. Like, you did something off a whim through your phone with no training and actually didn't lose out. You broke even. So that's a really good success story.
And that's where I got lucky. Like, this is not... That's why this is not investment advice.
This is an investment 101.
Very careful about what you do out there because there have been other opportunities. I tried to start a company during COVID, couldn't find the funding for it, spent a lot of money on it, and it just lost everything. Lost everything on it. So I'm a single guy, so I was lucky enough I could bounce back fine because I had a good job at the time. But I will say, like, cautionary tale, but also, it's kind of fun to try and just see where it goes, especially when you can take a calculated risk, when you have an opportunity to take the calculated risk strategically.
So it's like winning through losing.
Winning through losing. I think every aspect of life, some are going to be wins, some are going to be losses. The losses, at least, I always see all those people say, losses you learn from. And I think it's so true, is no matter what you do, you're going to learn something from the opportunity.
So, worst day that you've experienced since running a Dirty Dough?
Worst day?
Yep, worst day.
The day I maxed out my credit card, I had never maxed out a credit card before. That terrified me because it's one thing to have a mortgage and know that you're paying back the principal with every loan payment.
Right.
It's another thing when you go, I need people to walk in the store to pay back this credit card. I need people to walk in the store to pay my electric bill. I need people to come into the store to pay my employees. I should have said employees first because employees are first and foremost, but to me that's a little scary.
it kind of like made it real at that point, huh?
It's very real because other people's lives are involved.
Yeah.
It's no longer just you. And it's a business, so ultimately, yes, you have to make money, but also I'm a people person. I really like people, and I want everybody to grow here. I want everybody to be successful, and if that's with us or if we're just a part of that stepping stone, I want people to be maybe not necessarily always happy, but find the joy that I've found, at least through the try.
You know, I got to tell you, coming into this conversation, I expected it to be a good conversation. I didn't know how many gems I would get from this convo, and I'm enjoying it. I think that you're talking profoundly about business and different aspects of life that everybody can relate to. Like, that's the whole point about this series. So, Dirty Dough and Laurel, talk about your menu. What cookies are good? What cookies should I stay away from? I'm sure you're saying get them all.
We have excellent cookies, and that's my favorite part. Is we're not only cookies, we're growing into a dessert shop. Right now, our specialty is the cookies. So we have we have classics. Those are going to be like your chocolate chip, 3 layers of chocolate chips on the inside. Your brookie, it's a brownie on the outside, caramel on the inside. They're 3-layer cookies. They're soft baked, so when you open them up, they're going to be gooey on the inside. Another aspect I like about it. But we have the chocolate chip, the brookie, cookies and cream. Think of it like an Oreo cookie. Oreo is a trademark term, though, so we have that chocolate and cream in there.
Okay.
And then we also have a reverse. So it's a peanut butter chocolate cookie.
If I could only get one, what's the one I should get to get me to come back to Dirty Dough and Laurel?
I am allergic to peanut butter, so I do have a bias. I can't say reverse, but I really love the brookie. And then also every Friday we have our 3 to 4 cookies that change over.
Okay.
So you're going to see a new menu item on the Fridays when you come in.
So come out, get the brookie. Definitely have the brookie, and then check you out on a Friday with the new 4 in rotation. Okay.
And eventually we're going to get into the dirty drinks, they're calling them. We have dirty shakes, mixture of the cookies and ice cream. Come in, try us out, have a good time, get to know our employees. I think we have a good experience when it comes to our dessert shop here.
It definitely feels like it. I mean, you can get the vibe when you come in. I feel the energy. Like I said, it's very clean. The first thing I look for when I go into a restaurant or any type of dessert store is cleanliness. Like, I don't like to see clutter. I don't like to see a mess. And I'm telling you, man, I got here before all the action got started, but it looks great. So you're saying you are allergic to peanut butter, but you're around a lot of peanut butter. So how do you deal with that? Like, did you have any experiences that you want to talk about?
I'm lucky enough to not be deathly allergic.
Okay.
My throat gets inflamed, my skin gets inflamed. So I try not to clean up the peanut butter things, because just touching it, my body has a reaction, but at least I can be around it. So when they do bake the peanut butter cookies in here, to me it does not smell nice, but I know peanut butter and chocolate is excellent to almost every other person in the world. So
right. So who would you say are your biggest competitors? Not to give those guys any promo, but like when you come out and start your day, like, are you thinking about any other competition?
In any business, I think we're always thinking about the competition. My friend does own 4 crumbles, though, so I like to tell people every cookie store has a little bit of a unique aspect to it. Ours specifically, we're dirty cookies, 3-layer cookies. They're going to be the goodness, gooiness on the inside. You'll hear of others. I like to think of, if I'm allowed to say this, I like to think of insomnia as like, you go there for the late night, you need a late night treat. I like to think of, you've heard of the crumbles out there. I like to think of those as the princess cookies. You want your tea party cookies, you go get them over there. You come here when you want the dirty, the goodness, the gooiness, we're putting those toppings on. When you want, just something that has a little bit more of a savory flavor on the inside. We like to get messy with our cookies, and so everybody else got the nice looking cookies. We got the goody ones.
That's right, and that's it. Play on your niche, but the beauty of it is I see the passion, right? We experience the passion, and people get excited about dessert. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I eat cookies, right? But I try to not show how excited I am. But like, I was talking to my girl, and she was like explaining how excited she was for Haagen-Dazs to come to Columbia, Maryland, to Columbia Mall. Yeah. So to look at her face, and she just lights up and she smiles. She's like, "They're coming." I'm like, "Who?" She said, "Haagen-Dazs." I'm like, "Okay." What's so great about that? But people get excited. So she's telling me that, like, she goes to Shake Shack. Obviously, we like to go eat. We go to Shake Shack in Columbia. And now she's excited to be able to go over and get dessert from Haagen-Dazs. So can you play on that here with, like, all the businesses around you on Laurel? Like, do you get, like, any type of networking that you can maybe segue and get people to come from their business to do more business here? Or do you think that's a good possibility?
That's a good question, and it's something I've continued to explore. We're luckily in a spot where we're located near Lowe's, we're located near Aldi, we're located near a pretty pivotal strip mall, car dealerships as well, located near schools. So we have so many different aspects of the community, and we're along Route 1 where we're very visible. And I think because people see us from across the street, they see us driving on a road that gets about 30,000 cars a week. Because of that visibility, people are coming. It's something now I'm trying to integrate of how do I partner with other businesses and make sure that kind of they're aware of our business. It's been, I've now taken cookies around, I think, to all the other businesses, but now seeing how we can do a little bit more of the catering aspect and doing more of the marketing targeted towards the bigger business, I think we'll see, that's how our store is going to see success here in this area.
Understood. So what other, before we go on, would you say, what other moments did you have to where you felt like it might have not worked out? Like you talked about how you maxed out the credit card, and that was very, nerve-wracking. Did you ever get to a point to where you were like, you know what, I'm gonna probably move on to a different investment, or has it always been cookies and cream?
I started a company called Carrier Strollers. That was the company that failed. That was a 4-year trying to raise capital for it. We made this specific part to a stroller. It was very, very niche. Tried to sell it to a stroller company, and that didn't work out. I tried residential real estate. That was a lot harder than I expected, and I hope one day maybe try commercial real estate because it's more business oriented, but residential, you're dealing with people's lives. That was really hard, and if people don't pay, you also don't have the income there, not a big enough corporation to own a ton of properties and have the capital, to have that spread out risk. So that was really hard. So I would consider that maybe not a failure because I was able to break even, but that was a very big learning curve because I wanted everybody to be happy.
So you've made some major moves to keep your business going and your passion going. Like you said, you had to sell a condo. So like, talk about that a little bit more because that's a pretty big move to chase a goal.
Yeah, because the growth has to be continuing and you have to still survive even through rough periods. The holiday season wasn't as financially profitable as I was hoping it would be. Maybe due to some of my lack of marketing, and I'm still learning about how to do that. So I needed to raise additional capital. I then had to sell my condo to get more of that money to make sure that the store can keep surviving. We're now getting to a better trajectory, but because I maxed out loans and I maxed out credit cards and the financing to try and keep the store running has been a little bit more strenuous than I was expecting. Those have been rough times we're on now that we're slowly finding a path out of. I think what I'm learning most in life, only being 27, I'm very young, right? 27, but... You
should have said that in the beginning. That's something to like hold your hat to. Like, I'm 27, running a dirty dough.
I'm only 27, but I've learned, the biggest thing I've learned, I think, and I think that goes along with your show, but also just generally is it never hurts to try. And as long as I'm trying, to me, that's success. Even if there's not always the financials to back it, I just have to keep trying new ideas that come into my head. I tried to write a book, so I ended up selling that on Amazon and breaking even on just the book. Like that to me was exciting.
What's the book called? Plug the book.
It's called How to Be the Best Intern in the World.
How to Be the Best Intern in the World. Talk about that. I got to know about it.
That was an idea. Okay. I was like, they always say one of the great things in life is you have to write a book. And I was like, well, I have some extra time at night while I was working at a job in downtown DC. And so I was like, what's something I kind of know a little bit about that maybe I could share some thoughts on? And so I wrote this book called How to Be the Best Intern in the World. And I got one of my buddies who had a fancy title at the White House. He was a former colleague at the White House. He wrote a review on it, and then it was like, oh, good. It gives it some credibility. It gives it, some opportunity. It shared some knowledge that I have, and it was kind of like a little passion project. Went and did it, tried it. It was an incredibly difficult process. It's not a very long book, but it was like, that was a lot harder than I thought. So that was, to me, was a try. Residential real estate was a try. Dirty Dough is my next try. Finding other avenues for investment is a try. Like, all of these opportunities are my tries that I'm no longer in my black and white mindset. I'm seeing the good and gray and I'm trying.
That's dope. I like it. I like it a lot. So look, man, come down and get your brookie. We're at the Dirty Dough of Laurel. I'm inspired, man. 27 years old, you bought a house through an app on your phone. Never even left the damn house. I gotta get myself together. I'm not climbing back as fast as I thought. But look, check us out. What's the address? Let's go ahead and talk about where we can find you. Where can we come get these brookie cookies, the peanut butter reverse, all that good stuff, the dirty drinks? Where are we?
So Dirty Dough Laurel is in Laurel, Maryland, 14123 Unit B, Baltimore Avenue. It's a brick building, so it kind of reminds you of your grandma's house.
Yep.
Come in and get some cookies, fresh baked.
Phenomenal.
We partner with the schools. We're trying to, we do different weeks where we do fundraisers for the PTAs or for the schools themselves. If a school does want to partner with us, we're also happy to see where we can help.
Okay.
But we love to partner within the community, grow the brand within the community, and also kind of invest in our own community.
And absolutely. And if anybody's watching, if you want to DM me or, look up Brandon himself to partner, let us know. We love for those opportunities. So what other social media links do you have that we can check out?
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, dirtydough.laurel. There's also the Dirty Dough corporate page where you can see all of the different weekly cookies, but we post them on our own page as well. I like to drive traffic there. And then website for any Dirty Dough. If you're seeing this from anywhere else in the nation, just dirtydough.com.
Sounds good. All right, let's get the oven turned on. I'm ready to go. Looking forward to trying it out, but thank you so much, Brandon. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
It's the Comeback Series. If you want to see more content like this, stop what you're doing right now and subscribe and hit that bell for notifications and subscribe to the Comeback Series.